Hi, my name is Robin Dolan, and I will be presenting on human trafficking, specifically looking at sex trafficking in the United States. Human trafficking is a social problem because it is considered a vice crime, which can be defined as an illegal activity that has no complaining participants and is often thought of as crimes against morality. It's also often thought of as a victimless crime, which is inconsistent with its definition that it is a modern-day form of slavery, which a commercial sex act is induced by force, fraud, or coercion. This is problematic, and it is an epidemic. Here are a couple of statistics on human trafficking. There are 36,270 human trafficking cases reported inside the U.S. since 2007. Of the ones in 2016, 5,593 sex trafficking cases were reported. Also, 1 in 6 of the 18,500 endangered runaways reported in 2016 was likely a sex trafficking victim. The map to the right shows the location of sex trafficking cases involving U.S. citizens reported. This map only reflects what is in the location of the potential trafficking that was known. Human trafficking affects both men and women, with 1/4 of the victims boys. It is common for those who are most vulnerable to be abducted into it, including youths, runaways, and uneducated. They are seen as easy targets because they suffer from low esteem and usually don't have dependable guardians. Society and purchasers are also negatively affected by human trafficking. Here are some causes and contributing factors of human trafficking. Upbringing is a major factor of those who are commonly victimized by human trafficking. This can be seen through symbolic interaction, where individuals are influenced by those directly around them, and they often have a history of neglect, physical and sexual abuse, alcoholism, and emptiness in relationships. This leads to understandings of life and how people function together that are broken. Socioeconomic status can also make a contribution. Poverty is a main factor of human trafficking, and women will often sell their bodies willingly at first to provide for themselves. Bottom girls are another way for women to get sucked into human trafficking. Bottom girls are older girls, 16, 17, or 18, who befriend younger girls who are commonly broken and need acceptance. The bottom girls will take them and hang out with them and get their nails done with them and give them the acceptance that they've always desired. But in reality, their main pimp is sending these bottom girls out to lure in younger girls to a life of prostitution. The porn industry is a major factor for human trafficking. It fuels many men who watch, and they will eventually want to act out the violence that they see with prostitution. This leads to sexual aggression towards women. The biggest factor of human trafficking is that it's just a profitable business, according to supply and demand. If you find some way to cut off one of these, then the issue could change, but until then, it remains the same. In a sting operation done in Sonoma County, officers presented a false article or advertisement that was placed online for escort services by an undercover cop in Sonoma County named Amber. In the first week, it got 1,800 views, and within hours, it got multiple calls, and at least 10 men were arrested who tried to come for the ad. So you can see here that the market is overwhelming. Here are some consequences if human trafficking were to continue. First of all, it's damaging to society. The men who are purchasing are damaging their family and their marriage, and this commonly leads to divorce. It also leads to a guilt and shame cycle that involves rationalizing, giving a woman money and livelihood is what they're doing, and their wives aren't sleeping with them, so they should find sex elsewhere. It also leads to hard-heartedness because it encourages other men to do the same thing. It's also a rite of passage for those who turn 18, their fathers will order them a prostitute. It can also be used for bachelor parties, where people are celebrating getting married by getting a prostitute. Additionally, it increases during events like the Super Bowl and the Olympics. Another consequence, if it were to continue, is the medical implications for victims. Victims commonly suffer from many physical implications, including abortions, beatings from their pimp, and a lot of women may die and no one will ever notice or care. In addition, they carry a lot of mental baggage. This can include anxiety, panic attacks, attachment disorder, depression, substance abuse, development disorders, post-traumatic stress disorder, attention deficit or hyperactivity disorder, personality disorders, self-harming disorders, eating disorders, and many others. And if they do end up escaping, their lives are very difficult because their education is low and they don't commonly have many skills that they can profit off of. Like I said before, this is a very profitable business, and the ones who benefit from human trafficking are the ones who make the most money. Pimps can often make a six-figure income from this business because human trafficking is one of the fastest growing human enterprises in the world for both men and women. In addition, they employ many gangs and mafias to do their dirty work, who also get a share of the money. And obviously, customers benefit, although many would argue that the long-term consequences aren't much of a benefit. But about 10% of men in the U.S. buy sex from prostitution or trafficked women and girls. Hollywood and government seem to have the most power for change. When Ashton Kutcher and Demi Moore spoke up about fighting sex trafficking, it drew attention from everywhere. If Hollywood cares, so will the public. Movies and actors can be powerful forces in society if they choose to use their skills for something good. Media can play an enormous role in shaping perceptions and guiding the public conversation about human trafficking. If a celebrity cares about an issue, so will the public. The government can also have a power for change, with programs that they've implemented throughout the past years. These can include the First Offender Prostitution Program, the TVPA, Global Fund to End HIV/AIDS, End Modern Slavery Act, and Trafficking Survivors Relief Act. To describe a few, the TVPA, or the Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000, prohibits all forms of human trafficking in the U.S., and the government can withhold aid from countries that support human trafficking. The Global Fund to End HIV/AIDS was created by the Bush administration and uses science and research to inform the public. This has made a significant impact. The End Modern Slavery Act was created by the Obama administration. In this, funds are collected from the country and donors and put towards ending trafficking. In addition, the Trafficking Survivors Relief Act was introduced to the U.S. Congress during the reporting of the Trafficking in Persons report. This would allow victims to vacate federal convictions of crimes committed as a direct result of being subjected to trafficking. Here's a direct quote that can be found in the Trafficking Report of 2017. This is by Secretary of State Rex W. Tillerson. Human trafficking is one of the most tragic human rights issues of our time. It splinters families, distorts global markets, undermines the rule of law, and spurs other transnational criminal activity. It threatens public safety and national security, but most of all, the crime robs human beings of their freedom and their dignity. That's why we must pursue an end to the scourge of human trafficking. With all this disheartening information and statistics, who should do something about this? Well, everyone can do something about this. Individuals on all levels can reach out. They can support both financially and physically. Whoever you are and wherever you are, you can make a difference. Also, education systems can make a big difference through John School, which is an educational program for men arrested for buying sex. They are currently located in over 50 cities in the U.S. and serve over 100 cities and counties. San Francisco reduced rearrest rates by 40%. Authorities can also raise awareness in communities where recruiters frequently operate by alerting those likely to be targets of false promises that can lead to their victimization. Also, educating youths can contribute a lot. With youths who are running away from their families or who are growing up in the foster care system, education can do a lot in showing them what they can do in the world and what their prospects are in life. In addition, there are some recommendations from the 2017 Trafficking in Persons report. These recommendations for the U.S. include encouraging state, local, and tribal authorities to adopt policies not to criminalize victims. This goes back to the thought of human trafficking as a vice crime. Another recommendation is to strengthen prevention efforts related to vulnerable populations and to increase training for victim identification. With these solutions, hopefully something can be done about human trafficking and the toll it has taken on society with its negative effects for both men and women. A common problem that is seen for those who are rescued victims of human trafficking is, what do they do now? What do they do now after they've been victimized and after they've been abused and are suffering with all these mental illnesses? Well, several nonprofits provide a solution for this through homes for rehabilitation. One of these is Rebirth Homes. Their mission is to redeem the lives of human trafficking victims through a holistic healing approach that combines spiritual, physical, emotional, and mental healing in a 24-month program. This 2-year program is for women who are over 18 years of age, and it offers services like counseling and services that help women to learn new skills so they can go out into the world and make a living for themselves. This is very helpful because a lot of women often go back to human trafficking, go back to the life of prostitution because they don't really know what to do after they get out of it. Another program that's similar to this, but for men, is Restore One, which is mission statement is a ministry that seeks to open shelters that offer faith-based residential recovery programs free of cost to American boys who are survivors of domestic minor sex trafficking. So this addresses the issue of men who are in sex trafficking and minors, which Rebirth Homes only addresses women who are over 18. They both are different and unique in their own ways, and both offer rehabilitation for those after sex trafficking. Here's just a quote to end off my presentation. If people understand why sex trafficking happens, solutions and policies can come into effect. This isn't an issue isolated in faraway countries. It happens in our own backyard. Don't be a victim. Instead, advocate for them and become part of the solution. This quote really stood out to me because I don't commonly think of human trafficking happening in my own backyard. I knew that it happened in far-off places like France and Italy and even India, but I didn't think of it happening in the United States. But in fact, California, where we live, is a place where it has the highest human trafficking rates possibly in the country. And so it's weird to think about it happening even here in Riverside. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Here are a few of the references that I used to describe human trafficking. I really tried to gather from a lot of different places to get a good overview of the problem, how it affects society, and all the statistics that are associated with it. And here are a few more.